It is hot up in here. My area has actually been affected by a heat wave. So the tips that I've given you in the past with regards to cooling your aquarium, I'm actually using those tips right now. So if you haven't seen that, I'll have that linked right here. And I'll show you how hot it is. It's almost 100. So before we start off with today's video, I'm going to give you guys a little update on the plants that's in the Guppies aquarium. So 2 weeks ago, I got 2 lotus bulbs from PetSmart, and I actually put them into the tub that I keep all my guppies in. I started to see a little bit of growth, but as of right now, the plants are growing very, very well. And from that time till now, they've actually grown significantly. So let me go ahead and grab them real quick, and I'll go ahead and show you. This right here is the lotus plant right now. As you can see, they're growing out of the jar. Oh, there's a guppy in here. Look at this. Look at this guppy. I literally just took this out of the aquarium, so he must have been in the jar when I took him out. So the plan is to have the lotus grow from this jar and grow up, have the roots stay in the substrate in the jar itself, and then the leaves just kind of grow upwards and towards the surface of the aquarium. I actually thought it was a Java fern in the jar, but come to my surprise that this is actually all the lotus that's been growing. So yeah, it's growing very fast, and I should get this in the water before this guppy starts to stress out more than it is. And that just kind of goes to show how easy it is to catch guppies. Just put a jar in a tub full of guppies and you'll at least get one like this. So besides the lotus, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what other plants I got for the guppies right here. So as you may or may not know from the tub outside, I'm actually a big fan of floating plants. The reason why I don't have floating plants in my Pyara tank is because I'm actually running a sump. I don't want the chance of floating plants clogging up my bulkhead. So I didn't really utilize floating plants for that aquarium. On that note, I did want to add floating plants with my guppies, but I didn't want to add duckweed. Duckweed is a very popular floating plant in the aquarium trade, and the reason being is it's very efficient with consuming extra nutrients along with multiplying like a disease. Duckweed really multiplies, and if you have it in your aquarium, a lot of times hobbyists find it very, very difficult to remove it from their systems. So what I have here is water lettuce. There it is. If you look closely, you can see that they're very spiky. They have a lot of texture. It looks very good. And it looks kind of fuzzy almost. But the reason why I like this over duckweed is because if this were to multiply, at least I have nice looking leaves instead of something like that. See, the difference between water lettuce and duckweed is duckweed's very, very hard to work with. If I were to stick my whole hand in here like this and come up, my whole hand is consumed with duckweed. So whenever I'm going in to work on my aquariums and then I had to stick my hand inside the tank and come out and my whole hand is filled with duckweed like this, is pretty annoying. It'll pretty much clog filters and whatnot, so that just kind of gets in the way, and that's why I don't want to deal with duckweed. But I do have an excess amount of it, and I clear this out once a week, so it's safe to say that I'll never run out of duckweed. But with water lettuce, on the other hand, I think it looks very nice. I don't think they multiply as fast as duckweed. I'm not too sure where I'm going to put this water lettuce, just because when that lotus grows, I'm pretty sure it's going to cover the whole surface of this tub. So until then, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with this water lettuce, or I might just have to move that lotus. I might move that lotus with the giant gourami, but I'll just figure that out when they finally grow out. So while we're on the topic of the giant gourami, I do want to talk about a new fish that I added into that aquarium. So in my aquarium with the Pyara, one of the fish has been bullied significantly hard. The pink-tailed chalceus has been bullied a little bit throughout its time. I didn't really think it was very serious until I started seeing damage on my Pyara. And yes, my Pyara is the one that's bullying the pink-tailed chalceus, so it kind of makes sense now. So with the Pyara, they have 2 front fangs. They use these 2 to catch prey, to eat them. Although the Pyara is in the same family as the piranha, they both use their teeth in different manners, right? With the piranha, they use their teeth as, I guess, kind of like bolt cutters, right? They're taking chunks out of fish to eat them. But with the Pyara, those 2 front fangs aren't to bite people, but they are used for things like self-defense and most importantly, catching prey. So for the past 2 weeks, I've noticed that my Payara wasn't eating any food. The water parameter was perfect. It wasn't during the time of this heat wave, and even if it was because of the heat wave, the Payara would have had more of an incentive to eat. You see, when the aquarium waters get warmer, their metabolism gets sped up. Therefore, it gets more hungry, and he would definitely eat more. So if it wasn't the heat, it wasn't the water quality, what else could it have been, right? No one else bullies this fish in this aquarium, so that's kind of out of the question. He doesn't have any damage on his body that I can see, and everyone else just kind of gets out of his way. Everyone else is eating fine. The new Anabis is eating fine. The bikers are eating good. The Gar is eating good, and Painted Chalceus himself was eating good. The only one that wasn't eating was the Payara. So I'm over here trying to figure out what's going on until I started looking closer and closer, and I started to notice that my Payara can't close his mouth all the way. So just to dig a little deeper, I looked a little bit closer into the Payara's mouth and along his jaw, and I noticed that one of his fangs were bent backwards, and then his nose was actually rubbed in. Wait a couple of days later, I noticed that his other tooth is broken now. So he's consistently breaking his teeth, and it's getting pretty annoying because he's not eating, and he's getting very angry and agitated, and he's attacking everybody, and I'm trying to figure it out. I noticed Painted Chalceus had some damage. He wasn't doing too well, and he was hiding. So this was the moment where I had to kind of choose on what to do. Should I either leave the Painted Chalceus in the aquarium and wait it out and see what happens, or relocate this Painted Chalceus? I decided to move the Painted Chalceus to my bigger tank, which is with the giant gourami. So just to give you a little recap on what's in that aquarium, I have a red-tailed giant gourami. I have 2 large Enli polypterus, and I also have 3 silver dollars, 2 being spotted and 1 being a tiger barred silver dollar. So even though the stock was being a little bit pushed, I went ahead and moved the Painted Chalceus with them in that aquarium, just so the Payara can stop attacking him, because I know that if he were to drive that fang into the Painted Chalceus, it will pretty much be game over. Pretty much get stabbed in the neck. It sounds shitty. So went ahead and moved him in that tank. He's doing fine now. He's currently schooling with the silver dollars, just because, you know, Characins love Characins. Except for this Characin that hates every other fish and other Characins and whatnot. So tonight's the first night I'm going to feed the Payara since the move. He hasn't eaten in about 2 weeks. Since I feed at night, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short and return back when it's feeding time. Alright, so I'm sitting around waiting for it to get dark so I can start feeding my fish. And while I'm waiting, I'm actually editing this video that you're watching right now. And I've noticed that I'm already at 9 to 8 minutes. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to record a little B-roll of this feeding right here and have this be the last portion of this update. So I hope you guys enjoyed this B-roll. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace, guys.